Welcome back to Seablock. Today we're going to be covering furnaces and getting all those running in our wonderful stackable Factorissimo buildings, which I really like. And I also like the fact we're having ingredients coming in the left side, outputs coming out the right side, or the top as it actually moves up the actual island. And of course that doesn't mean I need to move other stuff away, but I quite like this whole approach. So why don't we continue with this, and we'll get into sort of the layout for this kind of thing. The blast furnaces, the induction smelters, induction furnaces even, and then the casting machines. We're going to use it with Mark 1s, but I do want to cover first of all just some comments that I got between the episodes. In particular, someone saying, yeah, I know you're having problems with carbon here, but there is a better fuel source called pellets. Not wood pellets, that is, but charcoal pellets. And they are available. Here's charcoal pellets. We need, however, cold processing 2 for that, which we don't have yet because we don't have green science yet. That's the main reason I can't use them. You can also look for other things like solid fuel. That's the other one that was mentioned by the commenter. Thank you very much. That can be made by a few different things, but again, we don't have the gas processing yet. And this also needs green science, although there are other recipes, but it all pretty much needs other stuff that we don't have yet. We definitely don't have blue science. So we're stuck on charcoal for the moment. Charcoal pellets will be the next one, however. So let's just go look at pellets again. How much of an increase do we get from charcoal pellets? So 5 times 4 is 20 on the input, and we get 1 out. So we get 24. Okay. Now, that compares to, so 20 to 24, it's a gain of 4, and we have 5 charcoal going in. Okay, so that means we get a gain of, what, 0.8 or something like that per charcoal. So let's just compare that to carbon. Okay, so carbon, we input 2 and some steam, obviously. So 4, that's 8, and we go to 9. Okay, so we get 0.5 increase per charcoal going in. So it is slightly better to go to pellets, and we are going to probably do that at some point. However, we need to get to green science first. That's going to need a whole bunch of other stuff, but let's just get started quickly with furnaces. And I say quickly, it's me, so maybe not quite so quick. I'm just going to put it down here for now, just to line stuff up. This will not where it will be. It'll be actually up here, but we'll move them later. What we're going to have is 2 inputs. We're just going to have them like here. Remember, these are going to be coming from the previous thing. So one may all go off to one side because we may not want both inputs in here. But yeah, for now, I'm going to assume that there is going to be 2 inputs. And let me just connect that up. And on the inside, we'll have both of those coming in. Okay, we're going to have probably 2 outputs. And that should solve that. Depends on this, which one of these 2 we go for. Because if you look here, we get nickel on 1. Let's take a look at nickel ore. Nickel ore. Okay, what is actually used to make? Is it just nickel? Yellow metal catalysts. So later we might well change that, but ideally just to nickel. That's fine. However, silicon ore, I think may have more uses. Silicon ore, silicon nitride, molten silicon. Let's just go back. Silicon ore. Okay, so glass, if you just burn it or melt it. Glass mixture, processed silicon, cement. That's the other one. So there is, cement is used. That gets turned into concrete, which is used, which turns into concrete. So yes, that is used for other things. So we may well want a splitter at some point. So we may well want to make sure these buildings are a little bit further apart. That's not a problem. For now, we'll just consume it as is and assume we're just going to make it into glass to get started. All right. So we've got these 2 inputs, 2 outputs, and we can reroute one or split it off if we want to. There's no real problem with that. So then we need to work backwards. I've got some casting machines. Now, if you remember a few episodes ago, I described these blast furnaces. You have 1 blast furnace, and I did it outside. Whoops. I did it outside. I showed you. I have 1 going to 1 induction furnace. That was what the mistake I made, or rather I didn't build out the rest of it. And then the induction furnace ideally would go to 3. I've only got 2 going because we don't have much input. Okay, but the ideal for this, according to a commenter, we'll check it through, well, we need to check it through, is to go from 1 blast furnace to 2 of these, and each one of these goes to 3, i.e. 6 casting machines per blast furnace input. Which means if we want 2, in this building, 2 blast furnaces that is, or 2 input lines, we're going to need 12 output casting machines, which is why I've got 12 here. Can we actually fit 12 casting machines? That is more the actual issue. So if we have this going here, and this one, let's say, going here, okay, can we, maybe we have to go that way, something like that. Can we fit 12 casting machines? We don't need to have much in the way of other infrastructure, so having that coming in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. No. Okay, so there's no way we're going to do it that way. We have to do a little bit more finagling to get this to actually to export properly. So why don't I just move these over and out by 1. Okay, so 4 here, and the same thing on this side, 4 here. Okay, and then maybe this will let us do a bit more of that. Why don't we just think about maybe we're going to have to pipe stuff into this. So we just need 6 on either side. So if we have this connected, can I actually get this connected via any kind of bus? Let's just put it like that for now. Okay, I'm just looking at the actual input arrows more than anything else. And let's get some pipes sorted out. Okay, we'll build plenty of that. And then what I think I'm going to do is have, once I have the pipes running, we'll just have them running like this. Same thing over here. I think what I'm probably doing, just from a point of view of symmetry, I'm going to take these up on this side. And we're just going to have them here. Yeah, I like that. So then we're just going to have our belts going this way. And then we'll have a belt up here at the top. This is just going to need to go this way. Okay. And I'll need to build more belts, of course, as I normally do. But we'll get the inserters feeding onto the belts from each of these and just distribute them like that. That shouldn't be a problem. And then we're going to need to just run a pipe through these. So we're probably going to run it this way, just for argument's sake. It's a little bit wasteful. We can probably get it go shorter this way. But that's our casting setup. And then further back, we then need to connect those to 2 induction furnaces. Now, those need to be a little bit more careful if we're going to do direct insertion. The induction furnaces need to sort of fit around the blast furnace. So blast furnace is going to be further down here somewhere. So for this, I'm going to have 1 induction furnace sort of here, I think. Okay, and another one here. That seems reasonable. And then our blast furnace, wherever you are. Okay. So if we go for direct insertion, then we can just feed left and feed up. Alternatively, what we can do is just go not direct insertion and just put it onto a belt just so it's visually distinctive, which is fine to do. Induction furnace, and we'll just do that and rotate this one. Yeah, we don't need anything. Wow, we don't need to deal with solids here. It's just going to go into this pipe, up into this one, and then everything is fine there. And then we can just feed from one to the other with some inserters. So let's get the inserters. Probably want one more. You get the idea. And then on the input again, we'll have this coming here. Probably actually just going to send this one right away, that kind of side. Okay, and we'll have to have a non-symmetric input just because I've got the these coming in non-symmetric on the output here. So maybe I'll adjust that later. For now, this is going to do fine. I'm going to set the rest up and show you once it's done. And the last bit of what I said just then was complete nonsense. I forgot I needed to put that belt back in. So yeah, I need to move everything down. You'll see everything should be okay now on the layout. So you'll see we've got 2 belts going out. These are balanced such that these 3 inserters, and we can put more inserters in there if we need to, go onto the far side of the belt, and then the near side of the belt has this inserter plus the output of these 2 inserters, which is going to hit the side of the belt. So all 6 of them should be balanced 3 per side. Same thing with this, just slightly different arrangement. And then we have 2 induction furnaces. Those are going to be fed from our our blast furnace, which is going to be fed by inserters. Probably going to change these so that one is more the input. This is going to be probably, we should only need 1, I think, maybe for the carbon that's going to come in. We'll see very soon about how that's going to work out. And then we've got two inputs coming in from the bottom, and then from the left side we've got where our carbon's going to come in, and the right side is where the carbon's going to go out, because this thing is effectively going to be stackable, or at least it's going to pass through, I should say. Stackable is more about putting Factorissimo buildings inside Factorissimo buildings, but for now that is our furnace building, and we just need to put that somewhere, at which point we are then able to process whatever we put into that building. So I think what I'm going to do first is move this circuits building so that this is available somewhere else. This, remember, needs solder plate, and other than that, do you have any other input? You have tin as an input, and it's coming on the right hand side. We'll probably have to rearrange that. I don't want the inputs to be on the right hand side like that, but otherwise we have saline water, and that's fine. And then we also have water, and that's coming from this small patch of water up here. So we're going to have to move a few of those around. Not too bad. I'll do that off camera. Okay, so in comes the first tin. This tin ore has been converted and should have been head out. Yep, there it is. And on this side, I haven't actually got anything. I've actually selected it up as lead, but it's not going to be lead. It's actually going to be glass. I can't select that recipe yet, though, because glass is not something we can make in here just yet, but it will be. Okay, so the right hand side half is still fine. You just can't make it right now. Just to demonstrate, I've got lead in there, but that's not what's going to be made in here. Lead's going to be made on this left side in a previous side of setup. We're going to make another one of these. The reason why I was just going to lead for a second is because if you select lead, so remember this is going to be on the left side. In fact, let's select iron first of all. Iron just needs iron ore, that's fine. Copper just needs copper ore. Tin just needs tin ore. Lead, well, no. Lead has two things extra it needs. So we need space in here, if we have a common layout, to have both of them. One is it needs oxygen as an input, and it needs to have an output of, in this case, sulfur dioxide. Now you can just flare stack the sulfur dioxide. You can see when you selt that out, the blast furnace has an input and output. I have a pipe there. I just connected temporarily just for some testing, but on the output, I've got the oxygen line which runs to this temporary steel furnace over here, coming over here, just so that we can connect it to a future building. It's directly online with that input. It's probably going to be in the next building to the left, because the next building to the left is going to go about here, and that's going to have, again, the same inputs, two inputs coming from the bottom, and it's also going to have some side inputs. In this case, it's going to have one input for the carbon, just like this, splitting off this main line, and then that's going to come inside, just like this. But also, it's going to need oxygen for the left-hand side, which is going to be fine, because it connects right here, and that's going to work fine. Now, on this side, we're going to need one more thing, not to quote Apple too much. I can't select the thing yet, the recipe yet, but so let's just select something else. Let's just select iron, okay? So that's going to be a recipe for glass. Glass here is coming from molten glass. Yep, going to go back. Remember, these are all casting machines. Advanced glass melting 1. That's going to need the 50 green science. However, it needs not fed in silicon ore, but glass mixture. That's something else we haven't really done, at least for the moment. You can just pour silicon ore straight away into a normal furnace and get glass out, but if you want to go via the blast furnaces, you're going to need to break it down into small pieces, basically. And that is just a process, and it just goes through a powder mixer Mark 1. Okay, so 1 to 1, and it takes 4 seconds to go through, and we just go back 1, and you can see that's the usual recipe. So we will have to make powder mixers. I'm not sure if we can actually make those yet. We need powder metallurgy for that. That's going to need steel bricks. So for the moment, what I'm just going to do is just a usual thing here of just the temporary option, which is to place a box. Okay, and these can't do anything just yet. And it's just going to fill that box, just to make sure that this line doesn't pile back into the previous building, which is exactly what we want to avoid. So in the previous building, this is the once we have enough mineral sludge coming through here, they'll start producing, and we'll start getting what we need. In this case, not terribly very much, because yeah, we are gonna be fine, but only this one is actually activated, so I'm going to want to cut that off there for the moment, because there's nothing coming out this side. So these won't accidentally take any of that. In fact, they won't anyway, I don't think, because they've not got a recipe assigned. So only that first one is in use for this one, and we'll do exactly the same in the others. What's in use here? We've only got one placed. Cool. And we're okay to go. So this one is backed up on lead. Remember, lead will need both those inputs and outputs. So do I have enough for another factory building? I have nearly enough. I just need a little bit more iron, and I need some more stone. 1, 2, 3, and then we have enough for another factory building. So I need to make more casting machines, and then we'll have a lead building, effectively, and a tin building. And then we'll have this, again, byproduct, this nickel, that will either need to turn into proper nickel, or we will just box, just as we've done with the silicon. And here is the cleanup. So all of our furnaces are now done. They're inside as they were before. This one is the iron and copper, and both sides are going to be needed almost straight away because I was running out of materials as I was converting things over. That's why not all the stuff is in place yet, but it's identical layout. And of course, you don't need the oxygen in this side. What does need oxygen, or will need oxygen, is steel. Now, the only thing we can make, or the only, I don't think we can. Ooh, that's a good point actually. If I just go in here for a second. Can I change you to choose something else? Yeah, this can only do iron. What we're actually interested in is steel at some point. Ooh, and I should probably just turn that bit off until I have another induction smelter. Basically, the input here, we're getting twice as much iron as copper, so I've only put one of the two on this side. We need to fill it out eventually, but that will save me a little bit of resources just temporarily. And then, of course, much is coming up here, and we'll just re-enable back to the temporary steel setup over there. See, we've got this oxygen line. It's going to be really handy because the oxygen is going to be needed. It's already going into the side of this, and that's fine as well. So the next thing is for steel, we'll probably split and go around, something like that. Steel is going to be sort of like a parallel process to iron, as well, not parallel to iron, parallel to copper. It's going to be a series product of iron. So we need to get the iron from here, split, some of it's going to go into steel just like this. However, steel right now is going to be just by this much simpler method. So what I think I'm just going to do is I'm just going to split it like here, okay, and we'll just shorten everything as far as how that currently gets supplied, and then everything will be quite nice because we have our oxygen here. We'll later sort that out. So let's just get that split off. Okay, and again, whoops. Again, we're just going to do the same temporary setup, just moved into a more appropriate place. Let's just disable that up there for a second. And then we'll get you picked up, and then other bits and pieces. Yeah, there we go. We're going to need the charcoal to be fed there, and we'll get rid of this box in a second. But everything else should start to look a little bit nicer. Well, let's get that furnace back down, and there we go. So we're going to select steel. Okay, and that will do. There it goes. And then we'll just feed in. We need to get that connected. Yeah, that will connect. That's fine. Yep, we're just going to need some charcoal to get started. And then the rest of this is going to be just a bit of cleanup, I think. I'm going to need to move this out, but yeah, all fine. And just to clean up a little bit more, I just rerouted the carbon at the left here because it's going from left to right. And that all works, and everything is nicely set up there. And it's producing output as we've previously seen. So that's working fine. Next up is green science. Remember that thing that's stopping us from switching across the charcoal pellets that I talked about at the start of the episode? Well, we're going to need green science for it. And we already have the research done. We just need to be able to build it. So green science is Atmos instrumentation. And clearly we can handcraft these. If I just click on it, off it goes. You see there's a number of different things it actually needs to build, and a few of them are actually serial products. So starting with iron, we go across to this, we add lead into it, and we go across to this, we add copper into it, and we go across into this, along with basic circuit boards. Okay, and tin, sorry. So just to be clear, we need all four of the main metals plus basic circuit boards for these atmospheric instrumentation panels. That's one of the two things that are needed. The other thing is this, which is tin, copper, and iron. So clearly we're going to just need all four of those metals. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Nicely, we have 4 inputs. to think about moving into producing a couple of things. One is we need this existing sort of factory. This needs to get some solder plate, and we might have enough space here to move from two inputs. For example, I can just put that there. We can get a second input coming in. Look at that. And we can go from maybe tin and lead, and just basically have it produce solder plate inside this factory, which means we just need two sort of inputs for that kind of thing. I don't have space, however, down here in this particular layout. So what we may want to think about is sort of splitting stuff off. If our, I say main bus, but we shouldn't really do main buses in in Angels and Bobs. If you haven't played Angels and Bobs, it gets complicated to the point where main buses will just collapse. It's better to have sort of set up areas for specific things. In this case, of course, we do have Factorissimo on top of Seablock, so we can have those areas of specific things be inside buildings to make laying at your factory much easier. So if we're going to need all four of these metals, two of them are going to need to go into one building right here. So we're probably going to move this building probably over here somewhere. Okay, so the next building across and then one up or something like that. And then a second building, we're going to want all four of these going into it. You'll see these outputs yet are not used, so we do need to leave a little bit of space. Right now I'm leaving 4 spaces between them in each direction. Hopefully that's going to be enough, because then you can get a splitter in there if you need to, and other bits and pieces. So let's get that started right now, and I'm just probably going to have to I'm going to need to I'm going to need to have another temporary box. We've got this other temporary box over here. I can just get rid of random stuff. Let me get rid of some ores. I probably want those ores back in a minute, but let's get rid of some ores, some algae, which I don't need, and clearly we should be ready to carry on. The last thing for the green science is that, remember, we want basic circuit boards, and basic circuit boards are coming out right here. Okay, and we are going to do just fine with that. They will come out the side, which is currently not hooked up. Yeah, so the second output here, there is our basic circuit boards. At least that's what I hope they are. Yep, they are basic circuit boards. So they will come out the side, which means that maybe, can that actually go at the top? No, not a chance. So this is going to have to feed into the next building up, which is going to be the green science building. Out, in, and back up. And then on this side, this is where the tin is currently coming in for the top. If we're going to make our solder here on the inside, we're probably going to want to get the tin to route around to back over here, but heading the opposite way, of course, heading this kind of way. That makes sense? Okay, so let me just sort out some of those bits and pieces. We'll get that rerouted, and then I'll probably be able to move this building yet again. In here, we just should have just about enough room, I think. We're going to need to combine 2 belts just to get this done. Otherwise, that's going to just require a bit more effort, and I'd rather just not spend the effort right now. So we're going to split this line. I'm going to split one that way, and I'm going to go this way. Okay, and like that. So we're going to get a combined belt. That combined belt is going to go up here, and it's going to go across and in this way. Okay, and that's going to get cut off. And then this one is just going to be pure tin. I could leave lead on it, I suppose. I could leave lead on it. But I'm just going to split it off and just be a little bit more idealistic about this. Naive is the other word, perhaps. And we'll just actually send it this way and have a pure belt that way. So have that going there. And then the same thing is true here. I'm just going to get an underground belt. And then we have pure tin coming across this way. All right, pure tin coming across there as before. And then there's obviously a few other things. Copper we already have coming in, although we don't have that coming in from an outside source or anything. Remember, this is quite hard to route things through. This particular building is a bit critical as far as that's concerned. And on the outside here, we need to get some charcoal to this input right there. And that's going to be straightforward, or more straightforward than you might imagine. We're just going to feed, that's probably going to need to split this. For now, yeah, why don't we just put a splitter in? And we're going to send this up here. Back on itself. Okay, and go this way, go underground, and then into the top there as before. This needs to be rerouted. This complicated setup here is just because I want to keep these heading upwards, so I'm just splitting off from them as they come out and then sending one of those lines, and I don't want to interrupt this second line on the output as well, so it requires a little bit of rerouting, but otherwise it's working fine. And this one is going to need to have a couple of underground belts. Let's just get a few of them made. We're going to need to have, we can't jump over that amount with those. Probably have to go up to just a pair of these. That's probably the easiest one. Yeah. And that will go that way. Doesn't much matter. Oh, can we not put the splitters on the output? I thought you could put them directly on the output. It seems like that's just not doable. So we'll just have to put splitters there instead. Now that works. Okay. And then that charcoal should go, carbon should go in and go in the top here. That would feed the furnaces. Furnaces should then output solder plate as before, and they will kick off the whole process. Of course, that solder plate will quickly back up into solder because we don't need that much of it right now, but that's pretty much automatic. The only other thing I will say is that we are going to need to have the input on the other side at some point, providing iron and providing copper. And because we're just really limited on inputs and outputs here, what we may have to do is something either... we can probably get away with this, to be honest, although this whole thing should be converted to wood at some point. But I do have enough inputs to get stuff in there. I'm just not going to do it right now. So that's the start of moving everything out as far as this is concerned. I am going to need to connect a few things back up to this. Water, saline water, etc. And we should be ready to move on to green science. And here's our new building where we're going to be building the green science. And that, of course, is going to come out here. We'll move this array up, etc. And then have maybe a red science building at some point. We probably don't need red science. It's a very, very small setup. It is a very small setup. So in here, we're going to have some circuit boards coming in from the right-hand side. We're going to get some of these electronics assembly machines. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to put these at the bottom, although, to be honest, we probably have quite a bit of room in here to actually play with, but to get started, we're going to have them going this way. And of course, usual setup. I'm running out of resources. My sulfur box is filled up. To be aware, over here, near this water hydro plant, I've got these boxes. I needed to upgrade them. They're filling up slowly with sulfur. We can use it in other places, but that will stop your entire metal producing setup if you don't watch out. Just be careful with it in yours. So we can make a bunch of things with this. So going back here, we're going to want to make what are they called? Ooh, actually I can't make them with this recipe. It's these Atmos reaction nodes. No, not those. No, where's the final? This is it. Atmos instrumentation. Can I not make that? No? Okay, I guess we're going to use a regular machine then. Okay. Atmos. You can produce that in here. Good. So we need basic circuit boards, microcircuits, and tin plate. Alright, so then we'll just plan it backwards, and everything else, hopefully, should be made from that. So we'll just put 3 here. We'll just work back. So it's microcircuits, and that's from micro wafers, and that is from wafer stamps. Is it also not made in this? It's also not made in this. Okay, let's go back one. I don't like using these 2 different sizes of things. Wafer stamps. Okay, so this one's going to need iron. This one is going to need lead. This one is going to need copper. And this one is going to need tin. You get the idea? So for each one of those, and this is why I don't like using these sizes, I'm actually just going to move this. And I'm just going to put them one further up, just because we're going to be passing along this line. It's going to be very straightforward, at least to get started. Whoops. And each one of these is going to need a metal in. So we're going to have each one of the 4 metals coming into the top here. And we'll rebalance them later and have belts between them and stuff like that. But to get things going, we can just feed all 4 of those in. And then out, we have obviously a 5th one comes in here. And then out, we can just feed upwards. Can I actually just make a few pieces of belt to illustrate? I need some more iron. Give me some more iron. Disable the steel temporarily again. Yeah, that'll do. Whoops. That's for the walk past. So yeah, then we're just going to send out temporarily for here, going that way, and then we're going to have here. Also got a commenter saying you can use loaders, and I haven't used loaders in the series so far. They're not included with Seablock by default. They are a way of feeding straight on from the end of a belt like this into a machine without feeding off it like sideways, like a typical inserter would. So inserters, when you don't have configurability, well, you know, you'd insert like there, and you'd have a belt going this way. Oops, that way. And you can pull in. Instead of that, you can just feed them straight into a machine. I've decided not to use that for now, but I may well add it later. If you really want to see loaders in the pack, then cool. But a lot of the times you'll want to insert off a belt rather than straight into a machine like this. This is just a temporary setup to actually get us going. So we'll just have, you know, another inserter there. And then we'll basically dump whatever output there is off onto this belt. And at this point, that's one of the two products for green science. The other product is going to be the reaction nodes. This needs tin, copper, and iron. Now, where is the lead introduced? Lead is introduced here. So these three lines, okay, these three are going to be used elsewhere to make the other product, which is going to be made as part of this. The other product we will then probably put onto, you know, like a machine up here, something like that. Have another set of belts running through. So in fact, what we can probably do is just load onto the other side of the belt. What does the green science pack itself take in terms of each side? One of each. Yeah, it's perfect. So we can just have that running across here and feeding onto the other side of the belt accordingly. That side. We just feed onto this side, etc. And that will be perfect just to feed this straight to some machines that will then make our green science packs, which I think can be made by the assembly machine. Can you be making the green science? You cannot. Okay. We'll have to make the other kind of assembly machine. This one. And the green science can output. And we can just output it at the side of the factory and back to the labs. So there is that. Where have we put this? Green science. There we go. So that just needs 2 inputs, and that will do the job. I'm going to lay it all out, and I'll bring you back to show you it. And very crudely, very naively, this is all sort of set up now. So we've got all of that coming across into the 2 ingredients, which of course is being fed up here and being produced into green science. And of course, we can probably get more of that going quite easily. But for the moment, we're just going to feed that out back onto a belt somewhere. And hopefully eventually that iron's going to pile up again. But for now, I will just, I think, just output it to output it straight upwards. That's not going to be there for long, but I just wanted that to go straight out of the building so that I don't have to, you know, move it around all over the place. And that, of course, we're just going to want to feed them back into wherever this line is. I could probably get some sort of thing around here, that kind of thing. One more. Yeah, and that will work fine. And then we just have to feed it across from this side all the way over here, and that job should be done. Of course, I want to make sure I have enough iron to do that, but we'll complete that once we go, and then we'll be able to select the right research. And there it goes, our first green science, and that means that the labs, well, these need to be upgraded to the next tier of labs. They won't work as they are, but we can do that with some lab optimization. And lab optimization is just filter inserters, which is just raw resource. We can already make that, and that can make up to this. But of course, I am going to need some more filter inserters, and they are just going to need some more circuits and basically regular inserters. So just more iron, really. And hopefully that will back up, as I said. And then we will just be able to craft, well, let's craft a couple of electrochemics labs. We'll just cut that off there for the moment. And upgrade these two. They just need one of the previous lab tiers to upgrade. In fact, let me just cut those off, just so that doesn't waste resources. I'm going to cut those off. And then let's just make a couple more labs without the precursors. So that was then going to work, and that means I can now research, what was it, coal? Okay, so coal, in fact, let's just go through here. So for the pellets, We want coal processing 2, so that's going to have some prerequisites, all of which are green science. So for that, we need gas and oil extraction and blue algae processing, and work our way down. And of course, we are at the limit of red science alone. So blue algae processing, gas and oil extraction. Let's just go for, well, they're both about the same. So let's just go for that and start research. And then if we go back, can we, I don't think we can we add them to a queue? Is that built in? It doesn't say. I think that will actually switch us. There may be an option in now in vanilla Factorio that lets me add it into a queue. It's in the player options or something, so I'll need to go and research where that is. And for now, are you finished yet, my labs? You are not. Nearly done. One more. There it goes. So that's our first lab. And we'll replace the inserters back again, and everything is now running, or will be running very shortly. And there we go. I upgraded the ones on the end, and we'll be able to upgrade the other ones as we go. And this is now working on green science, and now you can see very tiny green progress bar up there at the top right. So that's done for now. This building is done. It will be improved. That's just a temporary setup. You can see how much space we've got here. The main problem here is going to be I have 4 inputs, so getting the belts in the right place is going to be fine. You can see, though, for each one, the most complicated it gets is just splitting once. So iron and copper get split once, tin gets split once, lead does not. So, but that is part of that whole chain down there. So, yeah, that all is going to be needed. Of course, the main thing with all of that is that we're going to be short of mineral sludge until this thing starts to kick up. We want to get more mineral sludge, and that's going to be something I need to work on next and get that running. But, yeah, I'm liking this whole layout. Hopefully you are as well. If you want to put your comments down below with various suggestions, I have some very good suggestions so far in the series, and I'm sure that will actually continue. So, yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up. More than happy to see your likes on the video. And we'll see you next time for some more Seablock. As always, guys, thanks for watching.